The doctor who takes full responsibility from start to finish, 14 years with no accidents. You read this advertisement and finally decide to undergo the plastic surgery you've been contemplating for years at this clinic. But it was all a lie, a false advertisement that cost you your life to discover the truth. Behind the scenes, the so-called clinic operated like a plastic surgery factory. Multiple patients undergoing procedures simultaneously, unqualified staff performing surgeries, and ghost doctors you've never heard of or seen stepping in. This is a tragic story of a young man named Dae who lost his life to one of these factory-style plastic surgery clinics, and the crucial law that was passed in the wake of this case. This is one of the cases that has brought me to tears, and the audacity that the suspects, aka the doctors, had for the victim's family has been just mind-blowing. And today's case might make your blood boil, by the way, just in case, just to let you guys know. As always, I appreciate your support to allow GRAZY TV to continue growing. You guys, I've been on YouTube for 5 years. This is crazy. So thank you guys so much for your support always, and your like and sharing the important thoughts of what you guys have thought about today's case always helps. Subscribing and sharing this case with some of your friends that might be thinking of getting plastic surgery. It's not even about Korea. It could happen anywhere around the world. This might be an important case to share with your friends. As you guys know, plastic surgery is a huge deal in South Korea. You look left and right, especially in Seoul, you will find at least like 3 plastic surgery clinics in your peripherals, okay? And you guys know my story. I've gone under plastic surgery as well in the past. Yes, I've gotten a rhinoplasty done. And it's scary to think, oh my God, did I have a ghost doctor when I was, getting plastic surgery done years ago? Or if you guys have ever done plastic surgery in South Korea, or one of your friends who did my surgery. This is scary because your life could be at risk. And no pun intended, I did not intend for this. Ghost doctors are bad. Ghosting people are bad. But one of the positive ghosts that I know, CyberGhost VPN. The only ghosting you should be doing is your VPN, you guys, because anytime you go to the hotels or airport, I never use a public Wi-Fi unless I have the CyberGhost VPN on, because your informations are so easily stolen with these public Wi-Fis. Having VPN encrypts your information and keeps your IP hidden while you're surfing on the web. It encrypts and reroutes 100% of your traffic through their secure servers, so no one even knows about your online activity as it should be. They have servers in over 100 countries ready to cater your needs. There's 38 million users worldwide and an excellent rating on Trustpilot, one of the most recommended servers of VPN. But one of my favorite things is that you can have up to 7 devices at the same time, so iPad, phones, smart TVs. Share it with your friends and family. You can unlock exclusive content from like Netflix Korea, Netflix Japan, or Amazon Prime. There's a 45-day money-back guarantee, so it's risk-free. I have the link below where you can get 83% discount and 4 months free. Everyone needs a VPN anyway, so there you go. Here's one of the most affordable options for VPN. Stay protected, you guys. So thank you so much to CyberGhost VPN, and let's get back to the story. So this is 25-year-old Kwon Dae Hee. He was a senior college student. He was described as very smart, said to have had everything aligned in his career. He really liked to plan for the future. He had won many awards in school and even prepared different licenses so that he can get a job quickly right after college. And even became an ambassador for his school. So to me, it seems like Dae was very outspoken and liked to be an extrovert. Dae's mom also says that he didn't call her 엄마 or mom in Korean. He would say mommy, mommy. And he seemed to be very close to his mother, and she even also says that anytime there was a new movie out, Dae would always bring his mother to go to the movies with her. I haven't even been to the movies with my parents since like middle school, so you could tell Dae was such a great son as well. But just like most people in this world, Dae had a complexion about his face. Dae says that ever since he was young, he was bullied for his large jaws, or kind of like a protruding jaw. To be honest, when I saw Dae's photos, I was like, what protruding jaw? Like, he's a handsome man. He didn't like the fact that he had a large, square jaws. And I know in South Korea, the beauty standard is to have a slim, clean, small jaws. Although trends change and come and go, honestly, this case happened back in 2016. And yes, back then, having that V-line And still today, honestly, it's a beauty standard. But I mean, men are supposed to have a strong jaw, first of all. It's just kind of like human nature. But this industry is so big in Korea that they say 1/3 women get some kind of plastic surgery. And these days, even many young men go for plastic surgery as well. And these days, it seems like lip fillers are a trend in men, which look, I've had my nose done before, so I can't complain, but I just feel like lip fillers being popular in men just sounds, interesting, right? So Dae says that him being bullied ever since he was young about his jaws, it just carried through even through his adulthood, and he, set out a plan. One of Dae's goal was to save up money for a jaw surgery. His mother even says that he even purposely picked a college in Seoul that he can be closer to eventually getting a surgery one day. There's a lot of plastic surgery clinics in South Korea, so how did Dae choose this particular clinic? So there was a particular doctor that was specializing in 양악 수술, or this jaw surgery, and this can come in many forms. You can literally shave the jaws, or you can actually move this bone so you can move it up or down. People who have really bad bites get 양악 수술, or people have very square jaws, you can shave the bone. So this doctor apparently was on TV for being known for this particular surgery. There was big advertisements online and on TV. So Dae said, hey, this is the perfect clinic to go to. Now, the jaw surgery is different than any part of the face. Apparently, according to the professionals, nose, eyes, those surgeries, you're not really like messing with the actual bone structures, right? You're either pulling silicone in your nose, or you might be able to shave down a little bit of your nose or the skin area. No, this is your jaw. This is a very risky procedure, I believe, even still till this day. Dae worked up to 3 part-time jobs to save up for the surgery, which was going to be about $6,000, and finally picked the date of his surgery, which was September 8th, 2016. This is the last photo he took and sent it to his friends right before surgery. You could see that he was smiling and he was excited to see his new face. He followed all protocols. He came to the clinic and went under the hospital at 12:30 p.m. But 11 hours later, at 11:27 p.m., the plastic surgery clinic would call 911, or 119 in Korea, seeking for emergency help for one of their patients. And in the call, the nurse explains that the patient is okay, but wants to transfer to the hospital due to heavy bleeding. Now it's September 9th, 5 a.m. Dae's mother would get a message from his eldest son saying that Dae, their youngest son, is at the hospital in critical condition. Of course, Dae's mother being shocked. Here is a video of her pleading for Dae's life.
아이고, 조금만 참아. 아이고, 우리 집 보배. 조금만 참아.
Imagine seeing your loved ones having machines to keep you alive. Dae was in critical condition for about a month in the hospital, but he ended up passing away. But so what happened between 11 hours, and why did it take them 11 hours to get help? Well, if we didn't have the CCTV footage, we wouldn't have known. But this footage shows everything that had happened. So 20 minutes into the surgery, we see Dr. J. This is the main head, doctor, the guy who was on TV, who was responsible from start to finish of the jaw surgery. But you see that Dae is bleeding pretty heavily. You see the blood dripping on the floor. The nurses are cleaning up the blood with a mop multiple times, but the amount of blood that's pouring for an hour is abnormal. 1 hour after cutting through the jawbones, the main Dr. J leaves the surgery room without stitching the patient back up. Then a mystery man in surgery clothing comes into the room. We now know and call them ghost doctors or shadow doctors. This doctor is nowhere in the records of the surgery. We don't know his name, his face, literally a ghost doctor. And later we find out this was a ghost doctor that only had his license for about 6 months. Now, the role of this ghost doctor was to finish up the surgery, like finish stitching up. But Dae's heavy bleeding kept going even as the ghost doctor was working working on him. An hour later, the ghost doctor leaves. And then for 30 more minutes, the nurse takes over to try and stop the bleeding. Then you see, I don't know if it's another nurse, but you see her on the phone putting a lip gloss. And they say that legally, first of all, nurses are not allowed to be left with the patient alone while the patient is under. The doctor is supposed to be there from start to finish. Well, he was in another surgery. There was apparently 4 rooms. There was 4 patients at the same time who was getting surgeries, and the doctor was bouncing back between patient to patient, which is illegal, which is not right. As Dr. J is working on Dae, he cuts him open, does a jaw surgery, and it goes to second patient and the third and the fourth. It's literally like a factory. Then the ghost doctor comes right after Dr. J, is responsible for stitching up, and then bounces to second patient, third, and fourth. And the nurse comes to Dae, and I don't even know what the nurse is supposed to be doing. But where's the anesthesiologist, first of all? Like, an anesthesiologist is supposed to stay with the patient, I believe, throughout the entire surgery because anesthesia is also very risky. You're supposed to check their blood pulse and levels and everything. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I've heard that actually in a lot of surgery rooms, there's even 2 anesthesiologists, not 1. Now, professionals say that for a jaw surgery, a normal blood loss should be 200 to 400 cc. But for Dae, it was recorded 3,500 cc. In a normal healthy 45 kilogram women, I am 46.5 kilograms. So basically we have 3,500 cc of blood in our body, which means that Dae has lost 70% of its entire bodily blood during this surgery. Could you imagine you lost 70% of your blood and they didn't call for help, not 3 hours, not 4 hours, not 6 hours, but 11 hours later. I don't even know if Dae was awake, conscious or not at this time, and the crazy thing is they say that Mr. J, after he has done his surgeries at, I don't know what time, but 5-6 o'clock, when he was supposed to clock out, he clocked out. He's like, okay, I'm done, and left Dae in the surgery room with the nurses. As Dae's blood did not stop bleeding and he couldn't get up and he was still unconscious, Dr. J did come back, as the nurses called him. I don't know what Dr. J was trying to do, but he was trying to revive him and it was just not working, and that is when they called 119. But in the CCTV footage, there is one scene where Dae, it seems like he's moving his hands. So Dae could have been very well conscious for hours. There's even a scene where help arrived and they even brought blood, and you could see that nobody's touching it. They could have administered the blood right then and there, and no one did. Craziest thing that gets my blood boiling is that at the hospital, as Dae was pretty much dying, Dr. J came to speak with the family, right? Dr. J says, I talked to my lawyer and there's 2 options. First is to go through the court. They will decide it for us according to the law. There's also ways to go criminally, filing charges to the police, which then you all lose because according to the law, the doctors usually win. The second option is to mediate. I'm willing to do that, but there's conditions. Dae went into cardiac arrest at the hospital, but they will put all the blame on me. Then it wouldn't be fair. I can't mediate 100% of it. You will also have to sue or mediate with the hospital. The mother pleaded with Dr. J, I am watching my son die. Do not do power struggle with me right now. Can you believe this? Can you believe a doctor that literally left the surgery room with a ghost doctor and a nurse is talking about mediating and going to law in court while the son is literally dying? Dae was in critical condition for over a month, and on October 26th, he would go into another cardiac arrest. The doctors at the hospital had asked the family, do you want us to revive him? And the mother made a difficult decision to not revive him, as she felt that this was a sign from Dae that he wanted to go, that his body was through enough trauma. And Dae was shortly pronounced dead afterwards. So what do other plastic surgery doctors, professionals say about the CCTV footage? They say that they could have saved his life as long as they called for help at least 2-3 hours into the surgery. But the plastic surgery clinic didn't call for help and lost the golden timing. Professionals also say that in surgeries like this, you need to measure the amount of blood loss. So you do not mop the blood off the floor. You're supposed to have I'm not sure if it's a jar or 2 tube that measures the blood loss so you know what is normal and what is not. How can you know how much blood he's lost if you're mopping the blood? Dae's mother was filled with anger and she knew she had to get justice. And she says that she literally gave up everything in her life and put the sole focus on this lawsuit. And apparently medical legal fights are one of the hardest cases because the plaintiff have 100% burden of proof. Like, you have to prove that this doctor had killed your son. It's also hard because they say that normal person does not understand medical vocabulary, which is extremely difficult. Even lawyers and judges can't understand it. So you need to break it down somehow yourself. And it also costs a lot of money and time. Dae's mother says that she has watched the CCTV 500 times and even studied herself and came up with this board. She literally wrote an entire map for this defense. She finally filed criminal charges against the doctor and the plastic surgery clinic. There were 2 charges of negligence in the workplace resulting in death and violation of medical law. Now, the first one, the negligent death, apparently a lot of doctors and, plastic surgery clinics or hospitals are not afraid of because you do not lose your license. You only get a fine or a charge. But if you get found guilty for violation of medical law, that is big because you get your license revoked, meaning you can't work as a doctor or a nurse for years, meaning you have to now close your hospital down. Now, it took 3 years for the criminal suit's results to come out, and Dae's mother says that she, went to talk to the prosecutors multiple times, and they were giving her hope that, they're going to be found guilty of all of them. They were only charged for the negligent death and not the violation of medical law. And she thought that was so weird. They have more than enough evidence to revoke the license of all of them, the nurses and the doctors. And looking into why the result was like this was kind of shocking. So they found connections between the prosecutor who was in charge of, saying yes or no to guilty, which he said not guilty to the violation of medical law. He was actually friends with the lawyer of Dr. J. So Dr. J's lawyer and the prosecutors were Facebook friends. They came out of the same school. They graduated the same year. They were in the same class. There was even photos of them together when they were in school. And according to other professionals in this field, they say, everyone's friends with everyone, especially if you went to the same school. You sometimes have dinners and drinks together. So everyone kind of knows each other. And ironically, the prosecutor and lawyer friends, they got the same case to work on. So could that have affected the results? Now, of course, the family said this is not fair. No. And they decided to put it for retrial. If you think that the prosecutors made an unfair judgment and if you have enough evidence, then you can get a retrial. But apparently, this is a very, very slim case and a 0.3% chance of getting a retrial. And Dae's mother says that she was so drained and went to Dae's grave site and pleaded with her son. I want to help you get justice, but it's so difficult. You need to help me from above. Dae's mother decided to not give up and decided to do a 1-person protest. And for 416 days, she would go to the Congress, the prosecutors, and court buildings and protested with her signs. Her signs said, "How can a doctor's license be more important than a person's life? How can ghost doctors be allowed?" They also had a civil lawsuit that was going on. And between all of this, in 2018, the family found that the same clinic, Dr. J's clinic, was falsely advertising. And this was his advertisement. It says, 14 years experience, no accident, no shadow doctor, and only jaw surgery expert. This was in 2018, meaning after Dae passed away. So during the court trials and everything, because they were not found guilty yet, they were able to still continue their business, meaning he was still operating, and apparently, the business was doing great. And he was advertising that nobody had accidents. And of course, Dae's family reported Dr. J and the clinic, and they only got a fine. So they kept doing this. Now, the retrial results came out, and the judges ruled that yes, doctors can only perform based on their appointed license. Nurses can only assist the patient/doctor. Therefore, Dr. J and the others have broke the law, and judges ruled that they did indeed break the medical law, and Dr. J got his license revoked, but not the others. They still have to go through a trial. This was only the result of the prosecutor's decision being flipped. And the first trial results came finally on August 19th, 2021. 5 years since Dae passed away. Judges sentenced Dr. J to 3 years in prison and around $4,500 in penalty. And due to lack of evidence, he wasn't fully charged for all the other cases. For the nurses and the ghost doctors, they were only fined. Yeah, you're hearing that right. They were only fined. Dae's mother said this is not full justice, and she appealed. And the appeal trial results were that Dr. J was hit with the same prison sentence, 3 years, but this time $9,000 in fine, so doubled. And the other nurses and the ghost doctors had the same penalty. Now this time, the defendants appealed and said, no, that's not fair. So the case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and after the Supreme Court, but fortunately and unfortunately, the Supreme Court had rejected the appeal from the defense. And until the final trial, technically, they were still able to operate the same plastic surgery clinic. This trial took 7 years. So it was only recently in 2023 when Dae's mother got the final results. Dae's mother says that when she started the trial, she started with a full head of black hair, and 7 years later her head just turned all gray due to the stress of the lawsuits. Dae's mother says that she never really fully got to arrange and clean up her son's room because the trial just wasn't over, and she wanted to do it when she finally got full justice. And as she was cleaning Dae's items, she found this note that he wrote, and it was a bucket list written by him, the things that he wanted to do in his life. Some of them says Europe trip, date at the zoo, ride a horse. And number 15 of the bucket list, it says, let the world know about my name. And Dae's mother says that she felt like Dae left her mother a homework for her to finish on behalf of him. And Dae's mother filled that bucket list for him, as in 2023, there was a law passed under Dae's name called Kwon Dae Hee law. And this law indicates that from September 2023 and onwards, all surgery rooms must have a recording CCTV cameras in order to protect the patients. So because of Dae, this law was able to be passed where if you go under, you have to have CCTV so that in case anything goes wrong, you have evidence and proof. As without the CCTV footage of Dae, who knows what could have happened to this case? Like, the mother might have never gotten justice, as the doctors could have claimed anything, like anything medical, hard words throwing out there to the judges and the family, like, oh, Dae passed away because, of his health issues. Who knows? We would have never known that ghost doctors were being used. We would have never known that the nurses, unqualified nurses, would be left alone with the patient as he was bleeding out 70% of his body blood. So his name has definitely made a wave in South Korean society. Let me know what you guys have thought about today's case. And don't forget to click the link in the description box to get your special discount with CyberGhost VPN, just for my users, as this will protect your data while you browse on the internet and give you full access to blocked content. And it's only $2.03 a month. Totally risk-free. Check out the link in the description box, and see you guys on my next video.